Hey, this is Cody from Set It Off, and you're listening to the Rock Sound Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Rock Sound Podcast. I'm Will Cross, Junior Editor at the magazine. Joining me as always, Tamsin Wills. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It's ever so warm in here.
It's very warm.
If I start sounding a bit like raspy and if I'm melting by the end of it, that'll be what's happening. I'm literally melting in my seat.
Good week though?
Yeah, it's been a good week. There's so much going on, and I'm excited for September to come around and gig season to properly start again. Because,
for sure.
My diary is very quickly filling up with a lot of things that I want to go to.
Awesome. And Mr. Jack Rogers, how are you?
Hello, Will Cross.
Hello.
Yeah, things are all right, aren't they? Yeah.
You're looking very happy this week.
I try my best. It's
I think the day that Jack looks sad will be a terrible day for us all.
Even if I try and look a bit sad, I look like a puppy who's done something wrong.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair.
But, yeah, this week's been all right. My achievement of the week, I didn't go to Arctangent Festival over the weekend, and I got really sad. But then I was told during Converge's set that the rain beating down was coming in sideways.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I was quite happy to be at home watching
dry.
Watching Match of the Day with a pint of tea. Silver linings, everything.
Lovely stuff. Cool. So last week, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast. Last week, we had Mr. Josh Franceschi, Mr. Tay Jardine, and Mr. Dallin Weeks on the podcast. So it was a bumper episode. Huge reaction. Really, really brilliant. Really different, interesting chats for so many different reasons. So that was great. But this week, we have got one Miss Lynn Gunn. Album release day for All We Know of Heaven, All We Need of Hell. Second album from PVRIS. So we've got Lynn chatting to us about all things that album, what's been going on with PVRIS and what's to come. We've got Mr. Britton Bond from Wage War, bringing a bit of mosh, heavier vibes to the podcast. They've just released their album Deadweight, which is selling a crazy amount over in the States and is blowing a chasm into the heavier, more mainstream world, which is very interesting. So I chatted to him about that. And also a new feature, new band spotlight. We've banged on pretty much every episode about a band called Stand Atlantic from Sydney, Australia, a pop-punk trio. We spoke to frontwoman Bonnie Fraser all about that because we want to introduce that band to you guys and hear it from Bonnie herself. Absolutely brilliant bunch of guys and incredible band, but obviously we've said that a lot before and we'll say it again later in this podcast, so stay tuned for that. But first, the news. Neck Deep have been at number 2 in the midweeks with the Peace and the Panic. Fingers crossed that they get, well, of course, a number 1, if not top 5 at least. That would be incredible. Saint was the secret support to Against the Current last night at their special Borderline show. Absolutely insane. Linkin Park will continue as a band. Obviously, there's a lot to process at the moment with that, but fingers crossed we will see those guys again, and absolutely all our thoughts are with them. Brand New, surprise dropped their 5th album, Science Fiction, after 8 years. Tamsin, are you into it?
I'm hand on heart, I've never been the biggest Brand New fan, but I think the way they've just gone about releasing this album, it's like they've brand new.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of knew when they kind of put out news of it, but they didn't even really put any details out there. They were just like, it's coming, and then we'll just drop it the next day, no biggie. So much planning would have gone into that, and I can only applaud them. And there's one song on there which has got a kind of like a country bluesy feel, which I'm really, really digging.
Awesome. Yeah, that band just do not play by any rules.
No,
and
they break every rule in the music releasing book.
They do, and break the internet in the process. So I'm a lifelong Brand New boy. It's definitely a grower. It's a challenging album, but I'm really into it. There's a song called Out of Manner on it, which is insane, and there's a bit at the end that sounds a lot like could have been on second album Deja Intendu. More on that later. So big into it. Jack?
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? It's all right. It's fine.
No sort of hooks on it that you're sort of being drawn in by.
No, it's just banter, really, isn't it? like just break the internet, break people's headphones,
Break people's hearts.
break people's hearts. Yeah, just brand new.
I mean, my Twitter feed has literally just been non-stop brand new ever since like it first came out, and I mean, like announcing a show at Brixton Academy as well, which is for them really, really quite small. Like they're just throwing every rule out the window. Like I think because obviously they're meant to be splitting up next year, so I think they're just going balls to walls, and they're just like, you know what, fuck it.
So more on that in the coming weeks as we listen to it more. Jackie Vincent's Cry Venom, ex Falling in Reverse guitarist, has released their debut video. Super interesting. Maybe more on that as it comes. I don't know how, but they found me. Of course, Dallin Weeks, Ryan Seaman, who's also ex Falling in Reverse, have released their debut song. Released it as we released our exclusive interview with him last Friday. So super cool, everyone. I know all you guys absolutely love it, and big up to Dallin and of course Ryan as well. And to finish up the news this week, PVRIS video for Anyone Else was released earlier in the week, and Lynn Gunn has written a really interesting, very honest account of what was behind her lyrics for that song, how personal it was. It was really, really interesting to see alongside the video and song, and a bit more of a brand new vibe. They covered Jesus Christ as well from The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. Absolutely brilliant. So the album's out today. We'll tie that straight into our first interview. Lynn Gunn, absolutely brilliant. We chatted to her all about the new album, All We Know of Heaven, All We Need of Hell. Been absorbing that album for like maybe like over a month now. Maybe it's coming up 2 months. So many layers to it. It's an album that just unveils. I said this to Lynn. It unveils its secrets the more you listen, and that's exactly what you want from an album. So much staying power. So many bangers on it. So yeah, this is my chat with Lynn Gunn on album release day. Here we go. Cool. So Lynn, thank you so much for joining us on the Rock Sound Podcast.
Thank you for joining me.
Absolute pleasure.
Letting me join you. You're not joining anything with me.
So
I'm joining you guys.
I've ambushed Lynn. It's very early on a Wednesday morning. I've ambushed Lynn at a hotel. But yeah, congratulations on All We Know of Heaven, All We Need of Hell being released on Friday.
Thank you.
To say, absolutely loving it. Had it for maybe like a month now, so I've kind of absorbed it. A lot to take in. How does it feel then to finally be getting this album out to people?
It doesn't feel ready for me, like emotionally. Just because I feel like a lot of this stuff I'm still really attached to, and we've literally been working on it since we got into the studio, and whether it's been with like visuals or just finishing masters and like mixed notes and everything. It's been a long going process, and it's like finally kind of ending. So it feels weird. It's kind of sad. I'm kind of sad to like let it go and let it run free and run its course, but I think it'll be really beautiful at the same time.
Awesome. And looking back across the whole process then, and listening back to the album now, how do you feel about, these songs that have taken on so much life, over this long period?
I feel great about it, because I feel like with White Noise, the songs had a life when we first made them, and then they obviously take new meaning over time. But with White Noise, it was kind of hard for that. But with this record, it's still like I'm still discovering little just weird subconscious things that tie together throughout the record, and still really just absorbing it ourselves too. So it's really exciting. But it also, like I said, it also makes it feel like we're not ready yet. But I think it's kind of cool that if we're still in this discovery stage of just still like not analyzing it but like absorbing it in this time, and everybody else is doing it at the same time, it's kind of cool and collaborative with our audience. So
awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
very cool. And in terms of the actual recording process, you recorded in a haunted church in New York.
We did.
Take us inside that a bit.
There was no intention to record at a haunted church. We wanted to record in a really cool vibe, and we found this church, and it just so happened to be haunted. We found that out after we'd booked it. But it wasn't anything bad. It wasn't anything crazy. It would just, you'd feel like cold spots everywhere. You'd hear people walking around in rooms where nobody's in the rooms. You hear people coming down the stairs and nobody'd be at the bottom, and like lights would turn on and off, but just little things. They were just like a little pest. They weren't They weren't evil or anything. There's no demonic spirits or anything.
Amazing. And so it was quite an eventful recording process then in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, it was so fun. It was like we went back up there recently to do some other stuff just to kind of get ahead on a couple little things I can't talk about yet.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we went up there for like a weekend, and it just like threw me back immediately. I wanted to cry. I missed it so much because it was like a really heavy time for me, but it was also really beautiful. It was the first place all of us had like any sort of stability in like 3 years. So that place was like our home. That was our jam, and like I don't know, we had a lot of just like cozy fall family vibes going on up there. That whole process was nice.
Compared to when White Noise was released, how does it feel? Very different?
It feels very different, yeah. It was a positive experience, and it was really heavy for me. It was like, I think for all of us actually, because it was like it was our first like stable environment we were in like 3 years, and it was the first time we actually had a chance to just sit back and reflect on things. So we were like, whoa, what do we do with ourselves now? And it was, we all dealt with it very differently. And for me, I just kind of like shut down and shut off. And so a lot of being up there and a lot of the recording process was just like trying to dig through and like find emotions and like pull them out and be like, it's okay. You can actually feel again. Like you don't have to like work through or be stressed or pressured. Like you don't have to have a game face on. You can be present. So that was a big thing.
Cool, yeah, because obviously absorbing the album over the past month or so, I've really dug into the lyrics on it, and like you say, I mean, it's the lyrics are very heavy at points. So what we hear across All We Know of Heaven, is that essentially what you went through across the White Noise cycle?
A good chunk of it, yeah. Everything from like relationship turmoil to inner turmoil to just a collection of a lot of different things happening. So
because a song like Half is pretty brutal lyrically, and you did the cover with us, and I read about how at times on tour you'd be doing these amazing things, but you'd feel kind of perfectionist about your performances, and that would kind of lead you to feeling almost kind of slightly absent at times, and that must have been really, really hard to go through. So was this a kind of therapy in that regard?
Totally. It was a chance to kind of admit that and just like let that out, because that was something I never was really vocal about, because I was just afraid of what people would think, and afraid people would think we were like ungrateful or not appreciative of where we are, because that's entirely not the case. We are so grateful for where we are, but like something in my brain is just always like picking myself apart constantly and just making everything way more difficult than it needs to be. And like, I don't know, I ruin a lot of situations for myself, but working on that. We're still it's very much a work in progress, but getting much better than
That's
before.
awesome. So songs like What's Wrong, say, I mean the chorus of that, I mean it's, say you don't need a metaphor for you to know I'm miserable, like is that kind of how was that about that then, in a sense that it's almost like people didn't understand in a way and how you were feeling?
I remember writing that line, and I remember that was like the first song I wrote lyrically when we got up to the studio and we like finally settled in, and I was just like, I was miserable, and I was so unhappy and just like stressed and just so confused and overwhelmed, and like didn't know what to do with that. And I was like trying to find the best way to write about it, and I was like trying to find all these different metaphors, and I was trying to find all this different imagery, and trying to find something to mask it, just to make it like more artistic and something people would, it like just, I guess, something way less blunt and straightforward. And then at the end of the day, I was just like, can I swear?
Oh yeah.
I was just like, fuck it, like I'm just gonna come straight out and just say it. Like I sat for hours trying to think of something, or just like the most I guess the easiest way to swallow that feeling and swallow that, like admitting that, and it was just ended up being just like, no, fuck it.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything, and so that's what I did. But I think it says something, because I think this record has like a lot of the imagery and a lot of the metaphors kind of shipped away. It's still there, but I think much less than White Noise was.
Yeah, definitely. How does the title tie into the album? What was kind of behind that?
It was so random. We were up in Sacramento finishing our music videos with our director. We were finishing the first video, just editing. And we wanted to put some kind of dialogue or poem at the beginning of the transition video for Heaven. And we just wanted to like kind of encompass the record and just like set the tone and get the vibe right. And I couldn't find anything for like a whole day. I was like just constantly researching, like looking in books, just trying to find any little like breadcrumb to follow and like just go down. And I gave up for the day, and I was watching a TED Talks like later that night just to go to sleep. And it was the woman had quoted like the Emily Dickinson poem, and she quoted the last line, and I was like, that's so beautiful, oh my god. So I looked up the whole poem, and it's super short, but it says a lot, and there's a lot of different contexts you can take and a lot of different interpretations you could have with it. And so I don't know, it just like hit me a lot. So I was like, I think this might be cool. So I wrote it down and kind of started like testing the waters and sending it out, and a lot of people were like, yeah. So it was good. It was kind of serendipitous too, because I didn't realize this at all, or I didn't realize this at the time. We recorded in a church. This is Heaven and Hell. And then a very subtle theme on the record, and this was another kind of thing that just, I think, subconsciously was weaved throughout, and something realized afterwards. Mentions like a lot of duality and balance, and pushing and pulling and tearing and being torn in different directions, and so it really kind of like reflects that.
That's really cool, because I was going to say about the kind of duality aspects of the album, because we've been sort of touching on a lot of kind of heavier themes, and as it goes along I feel that there's almost a kind of defiance kicks in towards the end of the album, especially on a song like No Mercy, when it's saying, it's like the way on the chorus is saying let it rain and things like that. It really feels like it's almost like you've got this out of you now, and it's like you're like, come on, bring it on. I mean, am I right in saying that?
Totally. Yeah. That song was actually, that was funny, because we'd started that maybe like 2 or 3 months before we actually got to the studio. It was just like a little writing session, and a lot of the times, or not for this record, not necessarily, but on White Noise, a lot of the time, like I would feel compelled to write something, but I wouldn't really know what it was about, and I was like, I don't know how this relates to me, but like something in my head and something in my gut is like hearing this, so put it down and get it out. And it feels good to get it out in that moment, but I'm like, I don't know what this means yet. And over time, it definitely like manifested into something, and I like that interpretation of it much more. Of just,
cool.
Like kind of just not giving up, but just being like, all right, bring it on.
Yeah, like a sort of acceptance.
Either an acceptance or just like, no, I fucking got this shit, like don't fuck with me.
That's it
Either or.
Awesome,
be
man.
taken either way.
That's very cool. And as well, with Heaven being the lead single, what kind of led to that decision?
We had gotten a few mixes back, and it was like between like 4 or 5 songs that we wanted to put out first, and everybody was like, Heaven, 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 Heaven. And I think it fits really well, just because it starts off really vulnerable and stripped down, and something that like we've incorporated, not necessarily on White Noise, but it's been something we've done with like the Empty Room sessions and like the stripped back stuff. So I think it was kind of cool to start it with that, and then it goes into this like banger. So, or I guess my definition of a banger, but maybe not everybody's standards, but that's okay. I'm not trying to please everybody. It's dynamic, it's diverse. It really showcases Brian and Alex, and it just felt like it was the right next step and the most mature thing.
Kind of a natural progression.
Yeah. I think it made the most sense from everything else.
And beyond all this as well, you've got Brixton coming up at the end of the year. That's big. Like, how you feel? Yeah. What can we expect?
We've got a few tricks up our sleeve. We're finalizing like stage production and stuff right now, and I'm really excited about it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Very excited. Because I saw you guys Shepherd's Bush Empire earlier in the year as well, and the stage that you had there was really, really cool. Is that kind of something that maybe you're going to carry over, or is it going to be all new? Or I don't want to pressure too much, but
it might reference that a little bit. It might be elaborated on a bit. I don't know. Have to come and find out.
Cool. And a lot of new material as well.
Yeah. I want to play as much as we can. we've been on tour all summer, and like in the middle of touring and then in the middle of doing videos and everything, so we haven't had too much time to rehearse. So the past week before we came over here, we were like learning 2 new songs, and then when we go back, we're gonna be learning some more. So hopefully we'll get it all ready to go by the actual tour. I was like not arguing with management, but I was like giving them shit. I was like, guys, we have no time to actually learn like the new record. Like, what is going on? This is not okay. But we'll get it. We'll be good.
Cool. Yeah. 'Cause I guess I guess to finish up, like on that kind of angle, there is so much going on musically on the album. You know, and like I'm hearing things like harp on the album and like organ and things like that. I mean, it's a lot going on. You know, and within one song as well. So how's that going to translate live?
We've got some tricks up our sleeve. We've got some magical things that we use. We use a lot of like sample pads. So we'll like layer sounds together on that, and Brian will play a lot of those, and we got some really cool patches on our keyboard and stuff. Unfortunately, we can't afford a live harp player or organ player, but we've got ways to do it on our own, so.
Very cool. Very excited. Cool. So I guess to finish up then, in terms of this new era coming in now, right at the start of it, is this the most positive that the band have felt?
It's ironic because I feel like as a band and as far as like the creative aspect, absolutely. But I think at least for me personally, like performance wise and everything else that comes with this, it's like the complete opposite. But it's being worked through. I'll get there. It'll be good. But yeah, I think creatively and like just as far as being proud of the record and confident in that, is absolutely, yeah. Awesome. Without a doubt.
Very, very cool. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. So Lynn Gunn there, absolutely brilliant chat. Brought us in on everything to do with the new album. Tamsin, I know you're a big PVRIS girl.
I am.
What are you saying?
I certainly am. I mean, like I said, like we've kind of been sat on this album for a couple months now, and even though I've listened to it through quite a few times, I've still found myself every time they've put out a single, I'm just like, oh, there's a new song, even though I know what it sounds like. I'm like, and I think that's really nice, like for us as well. When even though we've heard a record, and we're like, okay, smashed it. No, even when they're like, oh, we're putting out a new song on Friday or whatever, and it's like, oh, what's it gonna be? And it's like I literally have it in front of me. I can listen to it whenever I want, but like I still get so excited for them as well. This album is like straight up perfection. I can't find a fault with it at all. And I think what's really nice with the chat with Lynn, like she's so completely open and honest about like the emotional pain she's gone through, how she's dealt with it, how that's then transformed into writing. And she said writing this album has been like therapy for her. And I think that's how some of the best music comes out, is when people use writing music as their therapy to kind of fight their battles with themselves and like learn from it and kind of grow and like use that as an escapism. I think that's like some of the most beautiful music comes out that way, and that shows in the new album.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, something I loved that she said to me was that she didn't say like, oh, you know, everything's brilliant now, everything's it's so great, you know. She was like, you know, things are being worked through still, but you know, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna get there. It's so cool to hear something like that.
I think it's really nice as well to kind of see her being like nervous and not ready to put it out there. Like she's completely just put everything out there in that record, and as discussed in the interview, there's a lot of darkness to the lyrics and a lot of pain in them, and you can tell she's a little bit scared to be like, literally everyone's gonna know how I've been feeling, and that is terrifying, and it is terrifying. But I think she's handling it really, really well.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
like, big up Lynn. Like, you're smashing it, girl.
For sure, absolutely. And Jack, into it?
Big style. My favourite part of that chat was just learning that the place we recorded it was haunted. Like, I was well into that. Like, I bloody love...
Such a PVRIS thing
I bloody
to do.
love
It is.
I bloody love ghosts. But the fact that, like, they recorded the album in a place and they could hear, like, people... like walking down the stairs, and like you can hear it on the album as well, and just like the whole atmosphere of everything they've done for this campaign. I mean, well, for one, happy release day, PVRIS.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really hope people are going to get behind this in the way that it deserves to be. There's so much love and care and consideration gone into it, and to step up from an album like White Noise in this way, like the world beaters,
Yeah.
absolute world beaters.
And the pressure, because White Noise was so massive, like the pressure must have been so intense making this album.
They've just done it second nature, innit?
Well, that's it, you know.
Second nature.
Yeah.
It's as easy as Lynn dyeing her hair.
Yeah, they've absolutely got this. I mean, let's to finish this up. Let's pick a banger from the album. I'm going with Half. Absolutely amazing.
That is a very. The thing is that I love that she said banger in the interview.
Oh
as well.
yeah, of course.
And
Yeah,
I was just like, yes, Lynn.
yeah,
Lynn Gunn saying banger is my new ringtone.
yeah. It's happening.
Half was probably going to be mine. Jack, you go. I'm still thinking.
Straight up heaven. It's just perfect song.
Yeah,
Perfect.
can't mess with it.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Anyone Else because of that outro.
Oh, with the harp.
Yeah. Like it's really. I was listening to it on the way here, and I was just like lost for a moment, and just like probably I think I nearly missed my stop because I was just so into the harp outro. It's stunning.
It really
No
is.
one has ever said that sentence. I was so into the harp outro.
Really interesting.
Amazing. Well, I think that's kudos to PVRIS, you know, in that they've made a totally unique album, and as I say, an album that reveals so many secrets and different things the more you listen. So, guys, we hope you're loving it out there. I bet you've listened, 10 times already, and let's get them that number one. Cool. So, Jack.
Let's do some listeners' questions.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah, right. Let's begin with a very current one. This comes from Jenny.rs on Tinstagram, and it's what our fave song from Neck Deep's The Peace and the Panic is. And I'm going to kick off by saying mine is track 3, The Great Delusion, which I just think it's got the perfect pop hook to it, an amazing chorus, yet still pop punky enough to be stage diveable, and it just shows off everything that Neck Deep are brilliant at on this album.
Banger. I mean, I know I raved about In Bloom a few weeks ago, but I'm going to change that. I'm going to go with 1970-something. I think it's the best track Neck Deep have ever recorded. It's an emo odyssey, that song. And talking about Lynn being lyrically bare on All We Know of Heaven, Ben Barlow on this album too. I mean, that song is just, hairs on your arm, like shivers. It's incredible. And the way it builds up at the end, never would have expected Neck Deep. When I first heard Wishful Thinking and, Rain in July, I'd never have even thought that Neck Deep would end up doing something like that. And especially that last vocal high that Ben does. I mean, as I say, first time I heard that album, that bit completely knocked me off my chair. Amazing.
I'm gonna go with Don't Wait.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say simply because Sam Carter's on it, but that's not just the only reason. But I think that the fusion of like one of the best UK metal bands we've got at the moment with one of the biggest UK pop punk bands at the moment. It's just like two of the best bands in the UK right now, just smashing it. Like it's a great song. Like Sam's vocals are insane, and I just think like it's one of those like it shouldn't really work, but it totally does. So yeah, that's my favourite.
Best collab of the year.
Joshua Abara 12 asked us what our theories on the new Bring Me the Horizon album are, and I've written down just two things: more ambient textures and more saxophone.
Would
And
enjoy more saxophone.
That'll do me straight up. Like,
You want more saxophone?
I want more saxophone.
Okay.
All music should have more saxophone.
More saxophone in deathcore, please.
Yeah, I mean, well, it comes right at the end of Oh No, at the end of That's the Spirit, so it could be an indication.
But apart from that, I just think it's gonna be a pop odyssey. Basically, I think they're just gonna push it even further than they ever have before, and just take everyone by surprise once more. And it's gonna be another 10 out of 10, I reckon.
Shout Andy Bidoff. I'm in two minds. I think they're going to go one of two ways. I think it's either going to be, like you say, a pop odyssey. They're going to push everything they did on That's the Spirit even further, and those little kind of weird moments like on Oh No or Follow You and that sort of thing, they're just going to push them to the absolute extreme, and we're going to get an album of just completely weird bangers. Or they're going to bring back an element of heaviness. Probably not. But there's just this like little gut feeling I've got that maybe there's going to be a nod to some of that stuff. So we'll see. But honestly, I don't know, and that's super exciting.
I'm going to disagree with Jack. I think just from kind of what we've experienced of both Sempiternal and That's the Spirit, I think they're going to go a little bit more back towards Sempiternal. I think they're still definitely going to have that pop edge, and I think more ambient textures could definitely be in there. I think they're really going to up their game in terms of like technicality and electronics and synths and the way they can use that to make their sound. But I think like Sempiternal was an album that was written from a very, very, very dark place for Ollie Sykes. And I feel like That's the Spirit was from he didn't have anything to be angry about anymore, but there were a lot more things he was focusing on in life, and kind of just developing himself really, and was in a much better place. Whereas some things have happened in his life that have maybe made him more angry again, and I think there's going to be a lot of angst and emotion and powerfulness, and I think we could get some like really, really heavy songs, but with those sort of little textures and synths and stuff as well. So I'm hoping for a little bit of anger. Get angry, Ollie.
Well, at least you want more sax, that's fine.
Oh yeah, like if I can have like some breakdowns and some grit and some edge, but some saxophone, that would be lovely.
Fair enough, I agree with that. And just to finish off, Malia1234 asked if we could change one thing about today's music, what would it be?
Very interesting question.
It is.
And I'm going to pose mine without comment because I think it doesn't need speaking for. I want early noughties metalcore to be not seen as comical anymore and be appreciated for how glorious it is.
Sick. I'm going to go, we need a Battle of the Bands show back, man. Like, we used to have a thing called Top of the Pops, which is where a load of bands would play their whatever single they had out at that moment in time, and it would be like a kind of Friday night Battle of the Bands. We need that back. We need something like that back.
Would, like, Top of the Pops was...
the good old days.
Seriously though, like, I've said this for years. Like, I religiously watched Top of the Pops growing up. I remember watching Evanescence on there with
yeah,
Biscuit,
it was so
watching
exciting.
the Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah.
Like, but also seeing, the pop stars that were, smashing the charts at the time. And I would sit down in my pajamas watching Top of the Pops like every single week. And there just isn't anything like that anymore. And I think the demand isn't there because people instantly go to YouTube and the internet for things. But I would absolutely love to see a show like that come back.
For sure, and especially now that because this generation's grown up watching that sort of stuff, the genre divides aren't there anymore, So we've got bands like Waterparks, who are just doing all sorts of different things neck deep. So that will lend itself so well to that. So please someone make it happen.
And the one thing I would change is, I feel like it's going to make me sound so old as well, being like, all the internet and all of this. Back when I first started buying music and things, I would get excited about going down to your local shop to buy the CD on single, to buy the records, to pick out what album you can spend with your pocket money or whatever that week. And I feel like a lot of that the excitement for buying music has been lost through like streaming and instant downloads and things like that. And I'm not necessarily saying it is a bad thing because, I stream music as much as the next person. But I feel like people are so expectant of hearing music straight away, and if there's nothing for 6 months, then they bin the band off and that's it, move on to the next one. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure on bands to constantly put stuff out because otherwise they're going to be forgotten about. And I feel like people need to get excited about buying music again, about heading to their local show to see the local acoustic artist, or I need to go to this show because they might play a new song that I haven't heard before. But like, people so automatically think that they can just head to the internet and find what they want, and if they don't find it, then they get really angry and automatically dismiss the band because they're not doing what they want them to. And I think that's a bit of a shame. I just want people to be excited about music still. And like the only way to support your favourite bands is to go and buy their music.
For sure. Yeah, be excited, basically. Support those bands.
Be excited.
Support your local music shops as well.
Do it. Yes, definitely do it. Cool. So, Neck Deep Bundles. They are very much still on sale. The Ultimate bundles have sold out, but you can still get the Panic bundle and the Peace bundle. Both include a pin badge and a bottle opener keyring. The Panic bundle has a hand-signed poster by the band. The Peace bundle has a drawstring rucksack designed by Phil Thorpe Evans, bass player of the band. So yeah, get on those. Super, super cool. In terms of the magazine itself, we're focusing on a bunch of different things. Features with MGK, fan questions with While She Sleeps. There's an amazing tribute to Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. A My Tunes with Taka from 1OK Rock. A feature with Straight from the Path. A feature with the Gospel Youth. A feature with Saint. Amazing stuff. So much in there. So get involved with that. Get on board with the bundles. Get involved with the magazine. This stuff will sell out, so get all that stuff. You can pick up the bundles at shop.rocksound.tv. Get involved. We've also got a Scuzz TV show, which is on daily, which features all the bands who are currently in the magazine. So look out for stuff like Saint and Straight from the Path and the Gospel Youth on that, and Neck Deep, of course. Check that out. Super, super cool. And we've also launched a bunch of new playlists as well. So we've got the likes of cover songs, pop punk playlist, emo playlist, even new metal playlist if you want to delve back a little bit. And of course, our personal favourite, Pop Sound as well, which is...
you asked for this.
Yeah, super, super cool. Absolutely just a range of pop bangers and hidden gems, breaking bands, all of it. So get on Spotify, Rock Sound on Spotify. Check it all out. Let us know your favourite playlist, and yeah, it'll be cool. Talk to us. So interview 2, Wage War. I spoke to frontman Britton Bond. Their album Deadweight, which they recorded and wrote with Jeremy McKinnon and Andrew Wade, and Jeremy, of course, from A Day to Remember, has been hugely successful. We talked about it last week that it's sold 268% more than their debut album Blueprints, which is insane. They've just finished their own headline tour, which had a crazy reaction too. So I brought all this to Britain, and we talked about it and how I think for the first time again, maybe about 4 or 5 years, the door has been blown off its hinges of the mainstream in terms of heavier music coming back into the spotlight. So I brought all this to him, and it was really, really interesting. So here we go, my chat with Britton Bond of Wage War. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
With Deadweight then, we'll kick off with how successful it's been already. I mean, it's had crazy sales, 268% more sales than Blueprints, huge reaction. How does that feel when you guys are such a heavy band? Like, because that's something that really strikes me about Deadweight, in that it's, there's so many hooks on it and that sort of thing, but it's still so heavy, and it's like it's unremittingly heavy. Is that, how does it feel to be? Does that feel good in terms of how true you're being in that sense and still getting so much success?
Yes, I think all the guys in the band are really, really surprised how well it did. I think a lot of us in the band, we put a lot of ourselves into it on that album, like a lot of personal stories and whatnot. So to see like the success come out of everything we put into it, it's really cool. Wasn't expecting it, but it feels awesome.
Definitely, and I mean, do you think that the success it's had, do you think that shows that there's there's been a real shift again in terms of heavy music coming back into, I wouldn't want to say the mainstream, but you know what I mean?
I think with like almost any genre, but with metal, I think a lot of bands are writing really good songs. They're kind of going out of their comfort zone. I think we did that a little bit on Deadweight. So I think, your typical metal fan who likes Metallica could dig into our stuff too. It's got riffs, it's got hooks and things like that. So I don't know. Maybe it is making a comeback. I hope it does.
Yeah, definitely. I guess to get into the album then. Let's take Stitch as the lead single. That's properly heavy. What's the story behind that song? Like, how did that come together in the studio? Because obviously you worked with Jeremy McKinnon as well, Andrew Wade. So take us inside that.
So actually, Stitch was one of the first songs we ever wrote on the album. I remember that song being done actually even before. So when we did Blueprints, we almost sat on it for like a year, and me and Cody and the guys were working on stuff kind of waiting on for that next album to come out. So Stitch was kind of like a riff idea that didn't make Blueprints, so we kind of turned it into a song. And yeah, it's actually quite an old song, believe it or not.
Oh, no way. So then in terms of the newer songs that came in, is it songs sort of, I guess, like Southbound, and I guess songs like Witness as well, and the songs that sort of have the sort of, I guess, the more melodic sides to them as well? Were they songs that came in later on, or how did it all fit together?
Yes. Yeah, I think those songs came way later on. I think Witness was actually just a bunch of riff ideas that from songs like that weren't good enough, but kind of like in the studio with Jeremy and Andrew, we kind of like morphed the song together from past riffs and choruses and stuff. So Witness kind of came from that. Southbound was actually part of the first song also, so that song got split into two. So, it's just little weird things like that happened in the studio.
Very cool. And how was working with Jeremy and Andrew? Like, how was that experience?
Oh, it was very awesome. This was our second time working with them, so Blueprints, we had such a good reaction, and we loved the way the album came out, so we definitely wanted to do it for round 2 with Deadweight. So they're good guys. I think Jeremy has a really good mind of tweaking your songs. Like, he'll bring a whole song to them, and instead of like being like, oh, I don't like this song or anything, it's like, what if you did this with this, or like, what if you hit this note on this, So I think he really is good at tweaking songs, and Andrew is a great engineer.
Definitely. And I mean, with having worked with them on Blueprints as well, was the kind of the plan with Deadweight to take kind of the best bits from Blueprints and kind of step all those up, I guess?
Oh, for sure. All the way. Like I said, we already had some ideas that didn't make that one. So sitting on it and, working with them, I think we made the songs the best they could be.
Awesome. And you've just finished your first headline tour with taking Gideon and Varials out as well. How was the reaction to the new songs on that?
It was insane. To be honest, so for some of the slower songs that we played, like Gravity, there was kids like singing the entire song the entire night. I'm like, wow, this album's only been out for a week or two. So kids are really, really relaxing on. They're really liking the single Deadweight also. So, well, not the single, but the title track. My bad.
Oh, very cool, man. Awesome. So the reaction's been pretty crazy to the new stuff then.
Oh yeah. Very
awesome. And I guess in terms of influences then as well that went into the album, I mean, I hear quite a lot of Slipknot on it, and some kind of very cool kind of it's like new metal vibes, I guess. What sort of things were you bringing together? Because something that really struck me, especially like with the turns of pace that come in when you kind of don't expect them and that sort of thing, it feels very it feels unique, to be honest. Like, it's very I think you guys you guys kind of sit in multiple worlds, which is very cool. Did that come from having so many different influences?
Yes, for sure. I know you said the Slipknot one. That was a big one. Like on songs like Deadweight and Disdained. A lot of us love pop music also. So I think with the choruses, we kind of try to go that route. Something that kind of like, that's not your typical metal chorus or things like that. And I don't know, we love the riffs too. So we all grew up with loving bands like Asley Dying and stuff like that. Just really crazy riffs. I think we always want to put that in our music also. So, there's so many bands, like even bands out today, like August Runs Red, Architects, things like that. I think we still get influence from in our music now.
Awesome, and especially as well with your vocal parts on the album. Again, a bit like I was saying about the turns of pace and that sort of thing. Like you seem to be doing so much with your voice in that like you don't expect it, and that there'd be some sort of vocal break or something like that, and it just kind of it sends the song in so many different directions. Is that something that you worked on heavily as a vocalist in the studio, and did Jeremy kind of have a hand in that as well, or how did that all come together?
We just didn't want to. I don't know. There's sometimes I'll listen to a metal record. I'm like, I wish it wasn't so monotone sounding and things like that. So I try to do a lot of things to kind of I don't know, just brighten the mood of the song. So it's just not like, okay, here's another song where a guy's screaming into a microphone. Just like I don't know, just like being playful, like those little things like that. Yeah, I think Jeremy is very, very good at finding little things like that in people's music. So, yeah, he definitely brought a lot of cool things to light that I would never try in a song. I tried it. Some of them didn't work, and then some of them were like, yeah, that's sick, and it made the album. So.
Awesome. I guess as well what you're saying about, because I agree, like with certain, types of metal, it can be quite one track, so is that something that you, is that something that you really wanted to kind of avoid and kind of, because that's something I love about Deadweight, and that, like I say, with the, with these kind of this playful vibe that's all over it, it feels, it's such a fun listen, as well as it being, totally heavy with these like killer choruses and everything, it is a really fun listen as well. And I think do you think the genre, maybe that sort of side of music misses that at times?
Oh, for sure. And thank you for even saying that. Like, I think that's our biggest thing we've been trying to do, is just bring something new to the table. I mean, there's so many bands like out there now, especially in the metal genre. So nothing's like, I don't know. I don't think you can really pioneer the genre much anymore, but you can still add like little new things. And I think that's why bands like Architects and August Burns Reds, Amity Affliction, those kind of bands stand out, because I don't know, they just don't bring the same thing to the table every record. There's always something really new and cool that they're doing. So yeah, we try to do the same thing also, and hopefully that's what people see also in Deadweight. So. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, do you feel as well? I mean, because there was, I'd say maybe like about 4 or 5 years ago, when Of Mice and Men got massive, on the whole Warped Tour scene and everything. It really felt like, really heavy music was making an absolutely massive impact. And it feels like maybe in the past couple of years that's quietened down a bit, but it feels like, with you guys and a few other bands, especially like you say, you mentioned Architects, who are a great example. It feels like, it's been completely dragged, into the center again, into the spotlight. Do you think that's because, you guys are doing something different and are making it fun to listen to, as opposed to just kind of, I don't know, being bludgeoningly heavy and that's it, I guess?
Like even like this is a really weird example, but I don't know if you know the hardcore band like Knock Loose.
Yeah.
Even like how heavy they are still doing like new things like in their music. Like not a lot of stuff. I know that new Code Orange album is super cool. I've never heard an album like that, but it's still like, I don't know, it's still a good heavy record, and I think doing different things, it will definitely put you out there in the spotlight, because we play so many shows, and there's so many local bands that like open up the shows I see. But it's just a metal band that someone's like yelling into the microphone, and it's just, I don't know. I know it feels really cliche, but just try something different. If it's not cool, go back to the drawing board. I think that's the biggest thing bands need to do now.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, like, and you said earlier as well that, you try a bunch of different things, and some things, were sick, and some things didn't work, and that sort of thing. Do you think that's important then, that when you are creating as a band, do you think it's important to, I guess, have that sort of sense of fearlessness and try a whole range of things?
For sure. Yeah, you definitely be bold. I mean, a lot of bands, I don't know, you need to put your own brand out there. It's like, that's your brand, that's your sound. Make it something that when someone listens to, like, oh, it, like for example, anytime I hear an Architects song, I might not even know the name of the song. I'm just like, that's Architects,
Yeah.
But I think that's like that's a big thing, like having your signature sound.
Yeah, definitely. Are there plans for Deadweight to be brought to the UK?
Oh yeah. We will definitely be over there very soon.
Oh, very cool, man. What can we expect from the? I know you guys have been over before, but what can we expect with the post-Deadweight Wage War live experience?
Just lots of new songs. We'll still play the ones that a lot of people like Alive and The River and stuff like that. But we'll definitely be playing a lot of new ones.
So, Britain was super cool. Really interesting about how, working with Jeremy, of course, and Andrew, and how he brought those songs and made them kind of in a fearless, exciting way that's opened so many doors. I think they're at the leading point of this whole kind of movement of heavy music back into the mainstream. Jack, you feeling that as well?
I think Wage War are brilliant, like simple and nothing else. Like, I think you're right that they are one of the bands who is making like the same sort of waves that A Day to Remember did, which is very coincidental because the man behind the desk is Jeremy McKinnon. But my favourite thing, which was saying in that interview, was them putting the fun back into metalcore, and having an actual brand for like your band, like a sound which is you. And I think that's something which is missing quite a lot from bands these days, that it's very easy to latch onto a sound and just make it and know that people are going to enjoy it, but it takes some guts to like be able to put your own stamp on something, which I think Wage War have done brilliantly.
Mate, it's such a good album.
And just to hear him talking in such a way that like he doesn't even realise like the beast that they've created, that like it's sold this many copies and that people are reacting this way, and just being like so humble and just like yeah it's a bit mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a bit mad, isn't it, Will? But also name dropping people, like he says, like Metallica came up and just like saying these things, and I think they deserve to be in the same realms as that, and like to be able to do this on the second album, like some bands don't even do this. It takes them 7 albums to get here.
Exactly.
Like,
it's scary where it could go, eh?
Yeah. And it's just going to keep getting bigger and better, and more confidence, more riffs, more pits.
Definitely, because you look at bands, you know, like Wage War and I Prevail as well, you know, that are doing that. They're clearly guys that have grown up, you know, when bands like Blink and Slipknot and these big bands from different areas of alternative music were huge. So they're pulling from so many different places and creating this fun, fearless brand of heavy music, and so many people are on board. Tamsin?
Yeah, I mean, like, I really liked what he said when he was like, just kind of do what you want to do what you like. If it doesn't work, at least you tried. Try something else, put a new name on it, whatever. And he's really like, he sounded really encouraging for new bands and for, you know, kids who are, you know, just jamming in their bedroom or stuff. It kind of was like he was just talking to people out there, kids who will be listening and being like, I kind of want to do metal, but I don't know if anyone's going to like it. But like, he's like, just do you. It worked for us. And they're quite obviously smashing it right now. You can tell, like, the proof is there in their record sales. Like, having Jeremy behind them is definitely going to help, because just look at A Day to Remember's career. Like, he obviously knows what he's doing. And they could definitely follow suit, like, hands down. I definitely think they're kind of leading this new generation of metalcore. Like, you know, he mentioned Code Orange, Knock Loose. And he seems quite keen to kind of really develop a new scene and bring all these new metal bands to the forefront, and he's willing to do what he can to make that happen.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, when you're being that fearless and coming up with songs like Stitch, you know, it's like, man, well, you can't mess with that, can you? Like,
I keep thinking about the breakdown in Witness.
Oh, that's so good.
Like,
yeah.
It literally just keeps grabbing me by the throat. I wake up in a cold sweat thinking about the guitar screeches on there.
Yeah.
And just making like that sound and music which makes you, like, the last sound which made me feel this way was All Because Have Abandoned Us.
Bang on.
Which every time you hear it, you just like, you can feel your nails in the palms of your hands, and like to be able to recreate music like that, and like it almost be second nature. Like, imagine what they do when they actually like go, let's push this even further. Like, it's like the sky's the limit.
It's a scary prospect, yeah, for sure. So, well, by what Britain said, they're going to be bringing Deadweight to the UK very soon. They've just done a huge tour in the US. Like, man, I just can't wait to see this live. It's going to be insane. So, yeah, brilliant stuff. Cool. So, RS Shouts. This week, we were going to tie it in with PVRIS because they followed up White Noise with such an absolute banger of a second album. We thought we'd kind of go for the best follow-up, in our personal opinions, to a classic debut like White Noise. So, Jack, you kick off.
Mine is Suicide Season by Bring the Horizon.
Great shout.
Which is that because Count Your Blessings is a debut which, it's not a direct classic. It's not like seen as like something which is like huge. But I think to see the jump from, because I do love that album. I think Count Your Blessings is brilliant. Like the songs, I think they're great. I jam it a lot.
You can't mess with, yeah.
But to jump from that to Suicide Season, and that album is just still some of the dirtiest riffing I've heard ever. And then just from Leaves and Bounds, we all know what happened after that. But to do that jump and make an album of that stature and that grittiness and that darkness, and just show that they still don't really care. Like it's it's just a modern classic, and more people should realise that it's the best Bring Me the Horizon album.
Oh, wow. Bold. What's your tune? What do you recommend to people?
Oh, Death Breath.
Great
All
shout.
day long. Best song about vampires.
I said that there'd be more brand new in this podcast, so I'm going with Deja Intendu, their second album. Obviously, Translates has already heard, which is taken from a blog that was written about their classic, because it is a classic debut, Your Favourite Weapon, which is much more of a pop-punk album. People were slagging it off on a blog saying that they'd already heard it before. So they responded with this absolute unique piece of art that's Deja Intendu. It's the perfect mix, because their third album, The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me, is this kind of much more expansive, instrumentally challenging album, but just as good as the preceding two. But Deja brings the hooks of the first album, the choruses, in with that slightly more challenging experimental nature, and it's just a perfect storm, man. Like, if you like emo, if you like modern bands like With Confidence and that sort of thing, you haven't heard this album, it's absolutely essential, and there's no way you won't love it. Songs, check out The Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows, one of the best songs ever written.
I was very torn between two for this.
Was it Paramore?
What did you guess?
Yeah.
Literally, the two that I've chosen are the most like Tamsin Wills albums ever.
Jimmy Eat
to
World
exist.
and Paramore.
No, not Jimmy Eat World. Jimmy Eat World is not in there. But when I say it, you will understand. I'm going to go with Paramore because Riot is hands down the greatest album ever made in existence. From start to finish, it's incredible, and All We Know Is Falling was an amazing debut. It really launched Paramore into the world. Really, it got them over to the UK and really kind of established them as a band for people to watch, but a band that not everyone had their eye on. It was just kind of like, oh, there's this band with a girl in it, and they're kind of doing quite well. Then they released Riot, and they flew off into outer space with it, pretty much. Like, it's done, and it's the album now that everyone goes back to. It's a decade old now, and when they released a new album this year, everyone was like, oh, it doesn't sound like Riot, and it's like, well, yeah, Riot was really, really great, but it's 10 years old now, but that just kind of shows how great that album is, that people are always like, it's the album for Paramore.
My favourite part of what you just said was that an album has the potential to make someone go to space. I just imagine that, like,
Can you imagine
NASA rang Paramore up and said, this album's selling really well. Trying to get to the moon.
We're gonna send Crush up to Mars.
Gliding through space, yeah.
But also, just shout out Around the World and Back by State Champs.
Oh, girl.
Yeah, actually,
just throwing it in there.
Actually, if we're doing that, I'm throwing From Under the Cork Tree in.
I mean, this could go on for a while.
Let's not do this.
Just slow down.
Can of worms.
Slow down.
So loads for you guys to check out there if you haven't already. Bangers all over the place. Right, new band spotlight. So third interview this week. We have mentioned a band called Stand Atlantic, a whole bunch in the past few weeks. They are a trio, pop-punk trio from Sydney, Australia. And you need, capital NEED, need to check out this band. They are insane. They are releasing an EP called Sidewinder on September the 15th. That, if we're including EPs in terms of albums of the year, it's my number one. Listen to it every day. We listen to it every day in the office. Everyone unanimously thinks it's amazing. 5 out of 5 knockout tunes. So we thought the best way, to be honest, rather than us rabbiting on, would be for you to hear it from frontwoman Bonnie Fraser herself, and just about what her band's about, what she wants to do with it, and where things were coming from on Sidewinder, because you are going to be blown away when this thing is released. So she's an absolute star in the making. Brilliant. This is Bonnie Fraser from Stand Atlantic. So to kick off, I guess just tell me about how the band came together. You're a young band. You only formed in 2015, so it must be pretty crazy. Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, it all kind of started. I mean, the story is pretty long, but I'll cut it down for you.
Go for it.
Basically, it started off as I had an acoustic project kind of thing, and I wanted to do a full band thing. So I met Potter through, we went to the same music school, and then we were in a band prior together, and we decided to just start fresh under a new name and new members. So we formed Stand Atlantic and got Jono on board. And the rest is history, basically.
Nice, awesome. And I guess well with Sidewinder, you work with Stevie Knight, who's worked with Confidence.
Yes.
Take me inside that. How was the recording process? Did it feel exciting while you were inside it?
Oh, absolutely. It was so different to anything we've ever done. Yeah, he just creates such a different energy to anything we'd ever experienced before, and he's so hands-on, but at the same time really lets you kind of discover what you want to get out of a record kind of thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
yeah, definitely.
It was just, and it was super awesome to work with him, and knowing that we're in like such great hands, like hearing the WithCon album, which was amazing. And it was just super cool and super different to what we were used to, and we were so out of our element, but it pushed us to like make a really great record, something that we're really proud of. So yeah.
Awesome, yeah, because talking about the record, I mean, did it feel like when you were recording and writing it, like, did it feel like you'd really kind of stumbled on something fresh? Because it's very accessible. It's a bit, in a way, it's like the WithCon album, that's just these massive songs, but then it's got a real edge to it as well. You know, every time I listen to it, I'm like, you know, it's got a real kick to it as well.
Thank you.
Oh, no, a pleasure. Like, did it feel like you'd really come up with something kind of, you know, that stands on its own?
Yeah, like without sounding too up ourselves or anything like that, like we did feel like it was something special. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really know like any kind of female fronted bands that are kind of doing that more punkier side of pop punk, but still being like accessible pop melodies and stuff like that.
I totally agree.
And and obviously the WithCon album is similar in that regard as well. But yeah, when we were writing it, we definitely figured that, or found that we'd stumbled on something that was a little bit left of center, if that makes sense, but still sure. in the vein of being accessible, as I said. Yeah.
Awesome, yeah, for sure.
So thank you for saying that, because we thought the same, so it's nice to have validation.
Oh, amazing. No, it was an absolute pleasure. No, as I say, I mean, I think I listened to, when Ange sent me the EP, I think I listened to it 3 times in a row or something mad, so yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Thank you. I'm so happy.
Thank you. So yeah, a song like Coffee at Midnight as well, picking that for the lead single, it feels kind of like, 'cause obviously it comes at track 4, it feels kind of like it kind of condenses everything great about the sound of the EP into one song. Was that the kind of the mentality behind picking that as the lead single? You
nailed it just there. Like, we thought the exact same thing. We thought Coffee at Midnight, releasing it first definitely gives people an understanding of what the EP, like, to expect from the EP, basically. And I think it's kind of is more on like the punkier side of the record. But that's kind of what we wanted to come across as a first kind of single, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, you basically hit it on the head when you asked me the question. So yeah.
Amazing. Cool. Well, to go from there, I guess as well, like lyrically as well, it feels very self-reflective, and it feels very honest in that regard as well. Was that something was that very much the plan you had when you put pen to paper?
Thank you. 100%. We released like a demo EP when we first started out. And something I have learned since then is that even though I was being as honest as I could, like, I never really felt so vulnerable as I did when I wrote this EP. Like, I really kind of just let everything out, and I'd been through a bit of a rough, like, situation at the start of the year. So it kind of came as a good time, because we were just starting to write the EP. So, So yeah, and it was super therapeutic, obviously, as well, to get all that out. And yeah, I felt really vulnerable writing everything, and it was the first time I really pushed myself, like, in terms of lyrics, and to focus on being honest, because there's something super special about when you listen to a record and you can connect to the lyrics because that person is laying everything out for you and, like, being so vulnerable and open. And yeah, I just wanted to try and achieve that as well. So Thank you for saying that.
Amazing. No, thank you. As I say, I mean, like my particular favourite, Mess I Made, I mean, that really, really comes across in that song especially.
Is that your favourite? That's cool.
Yeah, it's my favourite. Honestly, I've had that song. I've only got the stream, so obviously we haven't got downloads yet. So it's just every time I'm by a computer or like on my phone when there's Wi-Fi, it's just that song repeat. So.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. Awesome. So I guess to go from there as well, like, what's next? Like, are you guys writing for an album, or is it very much to focus on the EP and see how things grow and that sort of thing, or kind of what's the plan?
At the moment, we're focusing on the EP at the moment, but we have always wanted to write an album, and even though it's super scary, it's definitely something we want to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of took that next step.
Sick. I can't wait. Cannot wait. And like playing as well with bands like, we've mentioned them a lot already, but with Confidence and As It Is as well, and bands like that. Yep. Was that inspiring to kind of cut your teeth alongside those bands?
Yeah, it's always like so inspiring when you're seeing an international band come over and they've been touring for ages, and something about their stage presence is just so much like next level kind of thing, because they've been doing it for ages, and it's always super inspiring, especially from a live show perspective. Yeah. And we really dug that As It Is album that they released, like both of them actually. So when we were like able to play with them, it was really cool, and yeah, definitely inspiring. Awesome.
And might we see you on the UK shores at some point?
We are talking about some things, maybe. I can't reveal anything, obviously, but like it's definitely 100% something we really want to do.
Awesome. So is that, I won't push you too much. Is that something that we might see sort of next year?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, colour me excited anyway.
Awesome.
So to finish up, I guess, like just in terms of when you were making the EP as well, like what was kind of, obviously, you know, you were writing about very personal things and that sort of thing. It was very therapeutic. Like in terms of things that were inspiring you in the music and what was coming out, like what were you listening to and things like that? Like what bands? Yeah.
Well, as I said, like previous, like we really did want to focus on like the more aggressive side of like pop punk as well as the pop side of things. We're all huge pop fans. Like we can really appreciate a good pop banger. So we love like Taylor Swift, Bieber. I'm really into Frank Ocean as well. And there's this artist called Black Bear. I think he's written a couple of songs for Bieber, and he's one of my favorite artists as well. Awesome. So that was like the pop side. But then when we were going for like the more aggressive stuff that kind of came out in the EP, we really dug these bands called there's a band called Bully, who are like female fronted, and they're like super grunge and like gritty, and it's really sick. And like Violent Soho, but then also like the new wave of pop punk with Story So Far and Knucklepuck and stuff like that. So just a bunch of everything really. But yeah.
Awesome. No, that's really, really cool. So, I mean, in terms of, do you think it's important to keep that? Because obviously, like you say, you know, you appreciate pop bangers and that sort of thing, and you've got that real pop sensibility. But do you think it's, or at least important to you guys as a band, to kind of keep that edge to things, you know, to kind of still, you know, have that kind of, in inverted commas, punk edge, you know, to kind of retain that?
Yeah, without it sounding too, like, gimmicky, we didn't want it to be, like, a gimmick kind of punk edge thing. Like we wanted it to be real, and that's what we want to play. Like that's the music we love. So yeah, we wanted to pull that off obviously, and hopefully we do.
Yeah.
But and sorry, what was the start of that question?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, just do you think it's important? Because, you know, some bands in the scene today, you know, they're very sort of shameless in that they're just like, you know, we just love pop and we're just going to go, you know, whereas, you know, like I say, it just really struck me when I listened to the EP for the first time, and that it was like those bands, you know, there was such an acute sense of pop melody, but like it's just still felt like it was rage, you know, it still felt like a rock EP, you know, and I just it's just like it's that important to kind of keep within the sound, at the forefront of the sound basically.
Yes, so yeah, definitely. We just didn't want to come off as like cookie cutter pop punk kind of thing, and we definitely focused on keeping it pop, but making sure people didn't feel dweebish for listening to it. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, totally here. Cool. So, brilliant chat. I actually did that chat a little while ago, and it was so good I wanted to broadcast it. So we hope you're getting on board with this band, because Coffee at Midnight, Mess I Made from the EP are both out there now. Check them out. Absolute bangers. Tamsin?
That was like the nicest interview I've ever listened to. The two of you were just like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. And I was just like, okay, guys, like, calm down. But like, I love her. I love her so much, and I just want to hang out with her. And like, the fact she listens to Black Bear, like, I just kind of want to hang out with her and just dance really weirdly to Black Bear with her. So if you're listening, Bonnie, slide into my DMs and we can hang out sometime.
She said banger as well.
Yeah.
Loads of banger.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
all about that banger life.
We just chat to like-minded people.
Yeah.
Like,
We do, yeah.
Like, everyone's just on board.
But in all seriousness, like, I think she is quite clear they're still learning a lot as a band. Like, this EP, I think, has kind of thrown them, like they haven't expected the reaction from just the two songs that they've put out there, and they're kind of like, oh shit. Like, and I mean, that kind of shows just how good that EP is. Like, it is ridiculous for a band who are so new, and they're definitely still learning and developing themselves as a band and kind of what they want to do and the sound they want to be. And like, she's figuring out who she is as a young woman, and I think there's a lot of very exciting things to come from them. I know that like they're still not really sure what's going on because they're suddenly like, oh my god, everyone actually really likes our music, what do we do? But I think they're really, really cool, and like, everyone just needs to get stoked about this band, because I think there are so many bands out there in this scene, and I think they're definitely one that when we heard them, all of us were just like, these guys, like these guys are gonna, like, 10 years time, they're gonna be headlining arenas.
That's it. Like what you're saying, like, when you think this is just a debut EP, like, what is coming? You know, it's like we were saying about Wage War, but I mean, like, this is insane. I mean, it's the best mix I think I've heard in so long of like that grit, and she says it herself, like that gritty pop punk that's in line with stuff like Neck Deep and Knocker Park with a pop shin, pop bangers. You know, perfect.
Yeah.
I adore Stand Atlantic. Like, just adore them. When we've been playing this, there's every single time we have it on, I sit next to Will and I turn to him and say, music doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, he does.
Every single time. I sit there shaking my head in disbelief. Like, I walk around and just go, it doesn't get better than this. It literally doesn't. And it's very rare that bands can come along and make you feel that way. And especially, as we say, on their debut. And just hear Bonnie being so enthusiastic and so humbled and so completely blown away that we're so infatuated with them is so good. Like, it's so good. And just to be able to be here at the start and then get to watch them grow as time goes on, and also be able to watch other people pick up on like how good they are as well, and it just develop. It's a really cool thing, and like I just can't wait for the next step already. And it's only just like we've only just gone past the starting line.
That's it, man. Yeah, totally. That band have just got so much to give. So guys, please give us an album. I know the EP's not even out yet, but please give us an album.
Basically, we're not going to shut up about this band until every single one of you goes out there and listens to them, because like, you just need to. You need this band in your life.
Yes.
I mean, from that, have you ever had it where you're waiting for an album to come out, and then once it's done, you're like, oh, well, now I've got to wait like maybe 4 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
That you just want more straight away.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that with every single release that this lot do.
No, exactly.
Just continuously write songs and just keep putting songs out for us.
Yeah, just send them to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, get involved with that band. Brilliant. Cool. So, finishing up then, the Neck Deep bundles, as I say, are still on sale. So these things will sell out. Get involved. In terms of the mag itself as well, we've got so much going on. Obviously, an amazing Neck Deep cover story all about the Peace and the Panic and what led into that album, and the tumultuous time that's given birth to this absolutely beautiful album. Featured on MGK. Straight from the Path, Taka from 1OK Rock doing his My Tunes, Saint and her return, Gospel Youth, While She Sleeps fan questions, all sorts going on. So pick it up, let us know what your fave things are, talk to us, and yeah, magazine's an absolutely brilliant shout, so get involved. Scuzz TV show as well on daily, a nice little accompaniment if you want to read along while you watch. Some interesting bits of info on certain songs by bands that are in the mag. So look out for all those bangers on there, on daily, on Scuzz, awesome stuff. And we've also launched our special Rock Sound playlists on Spotify, so look us up, Rock Sound, follow us, and get playlists on cover songs, pop, punk, emo, pop sound, of course, new metal, hidden gems, breaking bands, all sorts of stuff. Let us know your favourite playlists, let us know your favourite songs, and just get involved with everything. You can pick up the bundles at shop.rocksound.tv, shop.rocksound.tv. And get us on Instagram at Rocksound, get us on Twitter at Rocksound. Awesome stuff. So yeah, again, gone too quickly this week, but
Can I just say that was very efficient, William?
Oh, thank you.
The way you repeated the shop.rocksound.tv as well. That's very professional.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm training myself for sure. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute doozy again this week. I had such a good time. It always goes too quick, doesn't it?
It does go
it
really
just
quick.
flies.
Yeah.
Every time.
And yet we still have so much to say.
Yeah, we do.
Should we do it again next week then?
I think we should do it again next week.
I
So
think we
next week we have got Chrissy Costanza.
Babe.
Yes. Up against the current. Absolutely exclusive interview, giving us all the gossip on their upcoming second album. Talking of second albums, I think that's going to be an absolute banger. Everything that's been going on with that band, the crazy time that In Our Bones has given them, and just what's to come. It's an absolutely incredible chat, so can't wait for you guys to hear that. And also John O'Callaghan, our friend from the Main.
What a legend.
Yeah, absolute legend. It's one of the best albums of the year with Lovely Little Lonely. We got inside that album, everything that went into its making of. He even played me demos of songs over Skype, which was insane. And just their tours coming up. They're coming over to the UK with Night Rights, all that sort of stuff. So really, really great stuff. So can't wait for you all to hear that. Subscribe, let us know what you're feeling, give us your questions, talk to us about everything. We want to know what you want, what we want to know you don't want, we want to know your favourite bands and who you want on the show. So it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
It's bye from me.
Bye.